Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the Blakey Spirit channel. Today we've got a very, very special guest. You know what, Sam? This is probably you're probably the biggest guest I've had so far, just in terms of like your notoriety and like your career and everything. So yeah, it means a lot that you replied to my message and everything.
Well,
so I just wanted to say that
honored
off the
you
bat.
asked. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
great.
honored you asked. Thank you.
First things first, just like, how is it going? Like, I can see you're. Are you driving right now?
Yeah, I'm on my way down to Chattanooga. So most of my career I spent out in California. California has everyone and everything you need in one place.
Right.
Tennessee does not.
Right.
We're working
Yeah.
on that. But Tennessee, I'm a big dude. It's hard to find enough people.
I cover a bit of karate combat on my channel, and you're obviously the karate combat heavyweight champion. That must feel amazing. But before we get into that, obviously you had a very big professional career in MMA. Had over 30 wins in professional MMA.
Yeah, 25 fights in the UFC, over 80 fights total. I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, you have been. And rather than, you got signed, but before you got signed by the UFC, you were in the Ultimate Fighter, season 16, Shane Carwin versus Roy Nelson. I know they don't do the Ultimate Fighters as frequently as, I wasn't really around when they were like doing them all the time, but from what I understand, they don't do them as frequently as they once did.
You're making me feel old, dag now.
No, I don't mean to, man, but yeah, like, what is that experience like? Like, you're in the house, like, I'm sure the testosterone's like through the roof, and you've got like, I don't know, like loads of fighters in the same room. I remember this season, I was watching like a highlights video this morning. I can't remember what his name was, but the guy with the Mohican, like,
Julian Lane. What did you call it? The guy with the what?
The Mohican. He had like a Mohican, like,
I've never heard it called that before. Mohawk. That's what it is over here.
Call it a Mohican over here in the UK. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like Mohican more.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask, like, what is that environment like?
Yeah, well, like you were saying, a ton of testosterone, a bunch of guys that know they're the baddest dudes on the planet. And like all fighters, all they have the ability to do is talk about fighting. So for 6 weeks, you are stuck talking about fighting. And I was so sick of talking about fighting. And most of the guys that they're pros, but they're not the super pros. And so their takes were all bad. So you get a lot of bad takes about professional fighting from professional fighters for 6 weeks. It was rough from that regard.
Yeah, man, after you've done that, I guess you're like, oh, don't have to talk about fighting every 5 seconds,
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, and you're also under the tutelage of Dan Henderson, UFC legend. I just wanted to ask, like, what is it that you think you gained the most from like learning under him?
So Hendo always said, he always said, most people are, they want to trade punches, one punch for one punch. I'm okay with that. And that was kind of my takeaway. I learned a lot from him. My wall control, my takedown defense, my takedown offense. I'm very good with all of it. But I always remember Hendo saying, yeah, if they want to trade punches with me, I'm okay with that. Hendo's the hardest puncher in the planet. And I like to think I'm number 2.
Mate, I'm a Brit. Like, what he did to Michael Bisping, like, that was brutal, the way,
did it twice.
I love Bisping.
He won twice. I don't care what the judges say.
You left the UFC in 2022. Obviously, you're on a bit of a losing streak. Like, when you were, I don't want to say cut because you weren't cut. Like, I remember in an interview you did with Ariel Helwani, it's more of like a mutual thing. They said you're a great guy for the company and everything. But like, what were you thinking when that day came? Like when they said, "Oh, we're gonna like move on" or whatever. Like, did you like panic at any stage? Like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do for the rest of my career?
No, honestly, I am. The good Lord is in my corner. Through the highs and lows, He gave me some highs that I never expected. I was a band nerd in high school. That's what I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be a band nerd my whole life, and I found fighting. and I would not have found it without the good Lord putting it in front of me. So when I had a good career in the UFC, I was very happy with what I did with them. I wasn't happy with how it ended, on the skid like I had, but I was very happy with hitting those highs I never thought possible. So when it got taken away, or when we mutually agreed not to work together anymore, it was like, all right, what's next, Lord? And he put some options in front of me. A couple options didn't work out, and now here I am. I mean, less than a year after I left the UFC, I am the karate combat champion. I am the greatest karateka in the world.
And I know you when in that interview with Ariel, and he asked you about the fighter pay thing, and you were like, you spoke good of the UFC fighter pay, saying like how they're increasing the starting salaries and anything like that. But Tyson Pedro retired last week from the UFC. I don't know if he retired fully or if he just was, I don't know, or if he just got cut. But in his post-fight presser, he like joked around saying, oh, I'm gonna have to rob someone tonight, to get money, because he's talking about how he hasn't got as much money as he would like, or that's what he was indicating towards anyway. So like, as a former UFC fighter yourself, like, what do you think? Do you think anything more could be done to improve fight pay in the UFC?
I think everything that is being done now is increasing the pay with the prominence of the PFL, and now they purchased Bellator, and with this, as much as I don't like Jake Paul, I love that he's got a combat sport out there that is paying old UFC or UFC fighters. You got BKFC, ONE FC. The more promotions that are out there, raising the fan base and the style of MMA fighters, the more the UFC has to pay. It's just one of those things. I think Tyson Pedro had 11 fights with the UFC, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 11 fights is, depending on how you're doing, 11 fights is you start making some good money to fight and win right around then. It's usually about your third or fourth contract. And the UFC increases that pay. What the UFC does do more than anyone else, any other sport in the world, is they give you a platform to become a person, to show your personality. And not enough fighters do that. As the sport progresses, as the pay goes up, you'll get more people like Sean Strickland, Sean O'Malley. John Jones doesn't really do it. John Jones, John Jones kind of is a shitty personality, but he's got a really good talent, so he's okay with that. Conor McGregor, these guys that were able to sell their personalities to the world and make a lot of money doing it. And the UFC, I mean, on top of paying well, they give you the platform to show off what kind of person you are.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and I guess you don't even have to like speak English, because like Alex Pereira, like he didn't speak English, but he's like become like a superstar just because of like his aura, I guess, and just how he is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand that one. Power to him, good for him, but I do not understand that.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. It is so crazy. But moving into karate combat, like I said, obviously the heavyweight champ. How did you get involved with karate combat? Like, how were you approached? How did it come about?
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, Raymond Daniels, I've sparred with him, and he's the only person alive that made me want to be a wrestler. I mean, I think my stand-up is better than everyone's. And then I got to spar with Raymond Daniels, and he turned me into a wrestler like within a minute and a half. It's like, okay, I'm taking you down. And so we became buddies over that, and I sparred with him a bunch of times. And I saw on Instagram, like, hey, fighting tonight, tune in, it's free on YouTube. And I was actually at my son's soccer coach was having a team party. So I was over there and started watching on my phone. And then the coach saw what I was doing, so he put it from my phone to the TV. And so I watched the first Karate Combat while there's a party going on behind me. And I was just hooked. Like, immediately, I was tweeting on everything and sending messages out saying, I'm going to do this. This combat sport is the fastest paced, coolest looking thing I've ever seen. And so I just started tweeting and following everyone on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and doing everything I could to get their attention. And eventually one of their marketing guys reached out to me and said, hey, Sam, do you want to fight for us? I said, damn straight I do. And so they put me in touch with some of the other guys, and I had to convince them, because I'm not a traditional karate guy. Even though I do have a traditional karate background, my style has never been that of a karate guy. So I had to convince them I was, willing to really embrace the karate side of things. And that I did. So we started working together. We came together on a contract. We both negotiated a little bit for it. I got a decent one. And my first fight in Karate Combat, I made more money than in my first fight with the UFC. So that was pretty cool.
Mm.
And then my first contract ended with him, just ended with him. And then we were renegotiated for the second contract, and I couldn't be happier with it. My next fight is March 22nd with Karate Combat, defending my belt that I got in December, and it's the first fight on my new contract.
Wow, amazing, absolutely amazing. I think that just shows, like, if you just persevere and, like, you know, something that, you know, then you will get, like, that's crazy how you're like watching that like a party, and wow, and now you're at the champ. That's unbelievable. You say how you had
one of my first tweets when I was watching that Raymond Daniel fights was, "I will be the Karate Combat champion 2024." And I got it before 2024. I got it in 2023, and it's so much fun to think about. I just put it out there in the world, started working towards it, and it's becoming a thing.
Yeah. And you know, you're not the only like former MMA fighter, UFC fighter that's entered the pit. A few others have. Like recently, you had Guillermo Perez and Alejandro Flores. Both of those guys been in the UFC, PFL. They seem to be having success in there as well against like quote unquote more traditional like karatekas. So I was wondering, like, why do you think MMA fighters are having more success in the pit than more traditional karate fighters?
I think the reason we're doing so well is because we have the more full contact experience. When we sparred for our whole career, we're hitting each other. It's not point sparring. It's not point matches. So there is a learning curve. Like if you look the other way, if you look at the traditional karate type fighters that move to the UFC, they dominate as well. Like the Lyoto Machidas, the Anthony Pettis's, the Wonderboy Thompsons, the ones that came from traditional kickboxing into the UFC, they just made that switch to full contact and being able to sprawl. Karate, we're going towards them, and they're gonna have to adapt again, and we're gonna have an uphill battle coming out of it. The MMA guys, we are gonna have to learn how to keep up with them as soon as they learn not to pull their kick.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just seems to be like a growing trend. I'm just saying, because remember when I first started watching Karate Combat, and like it was actually the other way, and like, I thought the karate guys were having slightly more success when they're pitting them up, but now it just seems the complete other way around, you know?
Yeah, they're all faster than us. Like us MMA guys, we're slow. It's like we've got our technique, and we can always rely on wrestling if we have to. Karate Combat takes the wrestling away, so it limits us. We have to speed up. We have to try and be able to compete with the speed of the people we're fighting, and we're figuring it out. But there's a lot of close matches. I mean, when I won the title, it was against Ross Levine, who's one of the best in the sport, and what a hell of a fight. But I was a step behind him the whole time. Like mid-match, I figured out what I had to do to try and slow him down, and it tended to work out. So we MMA guys will make the karatekas better, and the karatekas will make us far better as well.
Yeah, like that Ross Levine fight, you know, I just thought that was just a really good showcase from you of just like using your experience, you know, not blowing your load too early or anything, and not like, you know, getting panicked by Ross Levine, because obviously he is a more traditional karate guy, and he's like, you know, when he's like bouncing around like footed and all of that, rather than like freaking out, you just foot on the gas, you know, and pace yourself really well. And I just felt like your experience in that fight really gave you the success. Obviously, like you mentioned, your main event in Karate Combat Kickback 2 against Antonio Arroyo, defending your heavyweight belt, your first defense. Arroyo, similar to you, also an ex-UFC fighter. What do you think about him? What are you expecting from him? How do you think you're going to beat him? Obviously, without trying to give away your game plan too much.
Yeah, so he's going to kick hard. He is going to kick me everywhere. Not going to work, but he is going to land some big shots. And I'm going to have to counter it. I'm going to have to find a way to close that distance. I've watched all of his UFC fights. I've watched his Karate Combat fights. I got to meet him in my Karate Combat debut down in the Dominican Republic. Real nice guy. Like, we chatted a little bit. Super nice guy. And that son of a gun is one handsome fella. It's driving me nuts. Like, if you look at him, if we're on the poster together, I am the other guy. He's like this model-looking fella, and then there's the ginger chubby dude. It's like, God dang it! Why couldn't you put me with an uglier guy or get a worse photo of him? So there's that I have to look forward to. I will forevermore be the other guy in all the photos.
Don't be you're being too hard on yourself, mate. You're being too hard on yourself.
Have you seen him? He looks like a friggin' statue. He looks like the Greeks carved him out of stone.
Hey, that should give you more fuel to your fire, then, Sam.
Oh yeah, He won't look like he's built out of stone when I'm done with him.
Yeah, but like I don't know if you saw the first kickback event that they did in like it was in like the backyard of the president's house or something like that. I don't know if you saw that, but like I'm guessing it's going to be something similar to that. Like, have they told you like what the setting is going to be? Is it going to be like another party thing? Like, how's it going to work?
They haven't even given me a plane ticket yet. They're getting there. I'm not worried about it, but it's getting there. No, they said it's Cancun. It's spring break in Cancun. So I suspect there's going to be a party feel to it. I suspect it's going to be a lot of fun as I get to walk to that pit. There's going to be a lot of college dudes and gals out there cheering and screaming their heads off. And I'm looking forward to it. I love a good crowd.
You know, you mentioned that, I'm the other guy, like Arroyo, he looks like a supermodel. But your wife, actually, when I was doing my research on you, she is actually a former model herself. And I think she like.
I didn't say he looks like a supermodel. I said he looks like a model.
Oh, a model.
Like a supermodel.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I'll try. I won't get those two confused. No, but when people think like Emma, like a former UFC fighter, model, like those things, they don't seem to stereotypically those two people you wouldn't think would gel, but you and your wife, you're a great team. She's always in your corner in the karate combat fights. Like, why do you think you two work together so well?
It's just what we've always done. I worked out with her before I ever stepped foot in the gym. I mean, she and I, before she won her America's Next Top Model, we were together. Before I started fighting, we were together. At the beginning, I just said she was my corner, and so I got a free ticket. And she just took it and ran with it. She started learning everything there is to learn about MMA and fighting. So I wouldn't have had the career without her. I couldn't be more blessed to have her in my corner. And it's been such a good life I've had with her, in and out of the ring. So she's going to be there in Mexico with me, and I'm looking forward to whatever comes after that.
And when you beat Ross Savine, when you're doing the post-fight talk, I swear you said that you're going to try and get her to get in the pit as well, right? Yeah, how's that going?
She will be the karate combat champion. We're gonna make it happen. I'm gonna get down to the Cancun and we're gonna start negotiating it out. I would love to see her in that ring.
Yeah, awesome. That'd be sick. Your nickname, Smilin Sam, like, you're always so happy, so positive. And like we see a lot of fighters, like they're trying to put on like this tough man complex, like they want to be like the baddest man in the room, and they want to look like they have no weaknesses or anything like that. But you're always so happy and like so nice and everything like that. Like, why do you try to be so positive, so kind, so sweethearted? Obviously, other than when you're fighting, it's a different story. But
I tell all of my amateurs and all my young pros, I said, listen, talent matters. You have to be talented. You have to be good. But what matters almost more than that is you have to be memorable. You have to take advantage of every time you're on screen. And I said, it does not mean to be somebody else. It does not mean to put on a persona. You don't try to be Conor McGregor. You be yourself, just louder. Let yourself really shine. I'm a happy guy. I love life. The good Lord, like I keep coming back. The good Lord is in my corner. I have nothing to worry about because I know He would do nothing I couldn't handle. So I have that assurance behind me. And so I just let my happy flag fly. I'm a happy fella naturally, and I'm just tickled with every opportunity I've been given.
Yeah. So, final question, Sam. What can we expect from your fight on March 22nd in Cancun, the Karate Combat Kickback 2 main event? What can we expect from you? Early fight prediction.
I'm getting a knockout. I'm gonna knock him out again. I almost had it with Levine, but he moved too well. He was a beat too fast for me to really land that big punch. Arroyo is also a fast fella, but not as fast. I'm gonna make contact. He's gonna come out and kick. My arms and my legs are gonna be sore the next day, but for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, he's going down. I will find a way to connect. I will find a way to put him down.
Sam Alvey, thanks so much, mate. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, good luck for March 22nd, man.
Hey, thank you so much, my friend. Hey, have a great one.
Yeah, you too.